All right, so today we're gonna be making a lacto fermented dill pickle recipe. And I wanna kind of guide you through that to help because it's a good first step on your fermentation journey. And I really encourage everybody out there, try to include just one or two fermented vegetable recipes. The dill pickle is delicious and it's also probably the easiest recipe to make. As you can see, I'm boiling water right now, and I've also cut my cucumbers. The cucumbers themselves, I've just taken with a paring knife and taken off their stems. Cutting out those stems can allow the cucumber to become more easily fermented. Why am I boiling the water? Well, I live in London and the water contains chlorine. We got to get rid of the chlorine so that the fermentation process is not interrupted. And the easiest way of getting rid of chlorine in a short amount of time is by boiling it for 15 minutes. You let that then cool to a reasonable degree. Meanwhile, like I said, I've got the cucumbers sitting on ice, and that is because I'm trying to get them a bit crispier. Let's see what we've got as that water boils. Obviously, I've got dill for our dill pickle. I've got garlic. By no means am I going to put all this in, just probably a couple cloves. I've got coriander, coriander seeds, and black peppercorn seeds. When it comes to spices, when it comes to garlic, you want to try to use like half or a quarter of the spices that you typically would. The spices and garlic are going to sit in with the cucumbers for a long time, essentially marinating, and those flavors get more and more potent as they sit longer. Next, I've got my jar here, which I've just washed out, so it's nice and clean, and that is where my gherkins are going to go. We can just put some salt there at the bottom of our at the bottom here, and this is just going to create a salty brine. Now, don't be alarmed at how much salt I just put in to the bottom of the jar. All right, we're not going to actually be eating that salt. It's just going to be helping break down some of the vegetable fibers in the cucumber to allow the fermentation process to occur. Here's a question. Why don't you just go out to your local supermarket and buy the gherkins that way? And the answer is because the supermarket level gherkins are essentially devoid of any beneficial bacteria in that container. So the only way, unfortunately, to really get those probiotics into your life or those beneficial bacteria into your life is by actually making it yourself. Why should I be eating these probiotic-rich foods? And the answer is because we need them. Our bodies crave bacteria, and we need those beneficial bacteria to colonize our digestive tracts. The bacteria that we're going to be cultivating within this recipe is the lactobacillus family. Right, so I think my water is nice and boiled, and I've got my gherkins there that are still on ice. I think those are about ready. And as I let this water cool, I can add these gherkins in here. And when it comes to adding these, we just want to make sure that they're gonna all fit in the jar. When it comes to lactobacillus fermentation, what we want to do is create an anaerobic environment. And that just means an environment that has less oxygen, or underwater. That's an environment with less oxygen. So the key of this fermentation process and pickling is going to be submerging the gherkins or cucumbers in water and making sure that they're completely covered in water. Good. All right, so I'm not ready to pour in the water yet. First, let's add some spices. I'm just going to chuck a couple of black peppercorns in there and some coriander seeds. I'm excited for this. It's going to be delicious. And then let's chop up some dill. Chuck that in there. Oh, that works. There we go. Now it's a bit lower where that water line might be. I'm going to try to raise the water up to there. And if I have any tips, if I've got any of these tips kind of coming out of the water, it's going to rot. And I don't want that to happen. I want to preserve my vegetable. how could I forget garlic? Gotta chuck some garlic in there. I think I'm just gonna add 2 cloves, 2 large cloves of garlic. Chop off the ends there. Right, so a couple cloves of garlic. Gherkins are ready and waiting for the water to cool. All right, so our water is now cooled and it's time to add it into the cucumbers. Just gonna add it. We just wanna, the key is to get it all the way to the top. And actually did a decent job there. So as you can see there, it just filled the water. The water there is just above any of the cucumbers, completely submerged, but you can see a couple floating pieces of garlic, and those gherkins are also going to float if they're not kind of stuck down. So our little secret is a little plastic bag with a bit of water in it. But I just kind of rest that in there, and now I know that everything is completely covered. The garlic is pushed down underneath that bag. All right, so nothing is going to be exposed, and the water is really close to the surface. I then just close the lid, all right, and I just keep it like that. And you just need to check on it every few days to make sure that the water hasn't evaporated. You may need to add a little bit more water to this. And in terms of when it's ready, like, it's ready right now, guys. You can eat it right now. It's totally fine. It's just a raw cucumber. So it's really up to you on when you'd like it in terms of how sour it is. So I prefer at least a week, but you can go up to 3 weeks. Some people go up to 6 weeks, but you just need to keep checking on it regularly just to make sure that it's all right. Sometimes you get a bit of some bits on the top, and you can just kind of spoon that out and chuck it. So you just need to keep your eye on it. But at that time when the gherkins are ready and they're to your taste, put them in the fridge and the fermentation process will slow down, and then you can keep that in the fridge for months. But I typically eat the rest of my gherkins. I mean, there's only so many in here within a month.
All right, so we're coming in here on day 3, and you see I got some carbonation going on. Yeah, looking fine. Everything's still completely covered when I put this on, but it looks like it needs a bit more water in the bag. Normal happens because of evaporation, so yeah, I'll just fill this bag up a little bit more with water, and then we'll put it back in there so that it goes all the way to the top. And now, perfect. Nothing is exposed. All right, coming in here now on day 9, and let's see, it's got this kind of milkiness to it.
Hope you enjoyed this video, and look forward to the next one.